Hello everybody, Sean Swiss Sweeney here, SweeneyTV. How are you all? How are you? Glad to be back on a Sunday. Sean Swiss Sweeney, Sweeney HQ, SweeneyTV. We're back. We've got the amazing Donna on today. It's going to be a great interview. And I just want to say everybody who's watching and watches later on, thank you for watching and keep tuning in. And just going to introduce Donna now. How are you, Donna? How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm brilliant, I am. I'm brilliant. I'm glad to be back and glad to have you on as a guest, and it's going to be a great interview.
Thank you.
So just starting off, really, as a barber and educator, what are you currently doing at the moment? What's your strategy in work and stuff? And just little bits and bobs on that, really.
So at the minute, I'm working at South Essex College in Thurrock, which is in Essex, for those of you that don't know. And I'm delivering level 2 and level 3 barbering. We're doing level 2 VRQ and level 3 NVQ. So the level 3 is a lot harder. And we like to keep that a little bit, it's a bit more strict, and I prefer it as a qualification. So there's a lot more scissor work, proper barbering skills, I feel, in the NVQ. So no guards, all their fading and stuff is done scissor and clipper over comb to enable them to be ready for work, hopefully.
Yeah, well, definitely. Well, again, obviously, you know, how many students do you currently teach in your college at the moment?
So I've got, I think, about 10 on the level 3 that have progressed from level 2 last year, and then I think I've got about 25-30 on the level 2 in 2 different groups. Brilliant. So it's quite a good size of people.
And currently, obviously, you know, going back before the coronavirus, would you have them on set days?
Yeah, they come in on set days, so they're all timetabled so that they're coming in. The younger lot are in sort of 3 days a week because they have to do maths and English alongside their qualification, and then anyone over 19 just comes in 2 days a week, and we try and keep it within school times because they've usually got children, and that's why they've come back to college as an adult.
And the age range of your students?
Oh goodness, I've got everybody from 16. Last year I had everybody from 16 to nearly 60. And then this year we've got the same 16 to, I think my oldest student is, I'd say, late 30s. I'm being kind. I'm not going to reveal their age.
No, of course. Well, they'll probably be watching this later on at some point anyway. So
probably.
You know, we keep it nice and sweet on SweeneyTV. It's a family-run show. So anyway,
yeah.
So let's go back to the start. How did this all start for you?
Well, barbering as a profession, I left school, went to college, and they didn't offer, when I went to college, they didn't offer barbering as a separate qualification. It was extra units on your ladies qualification. And my tutor was the late great Yvonne Saunders, who some of us remember very fondly for being absolutely hilarious, but also really hard. She would make sure that you knew what you were doing and you wouldn't get away with a half effort job. And the 2 units that she taught were gents cuts and hot tail shaves. And it was a compulsory part, although it was an extra added unit, and I absolutely loved it. So I then went on to, I managed to talk my way into a management job straight out of college, realised I had no idea what I was doing whatsoever, couldn't run a shop, and left and went to work in a barber's, which was Lee's in Pickford Lane in Bexley Heath near me. And I've worked there on and off since I was 18, right up to sort of now. I still go and cover now. They're like family. So yeah, it was good. And then so then I went and did my level 3, and when I did that, my level 3 contained the NVQ assessor's qualification as well. And then from there into teaching, into assessing at the local college. And then since then, I've worked in Hobbs in Camden for Ucking and a fantastic team there. And now I'm at South Essex College with a fantastic team there. So I've been really lucky.
Wow, brilliant. That's a great introduction to barbering. Just a quick question. Obviously, a lot of people are only thinking, how many students have you signed off then, do you think, over the years?
Oh, I wouldn't lie. It's got to be in the hundreds.
Good.
I mean, if we're doing...
That's great to hear.
If we're doing 40 a year, or say 30 a year, if we're doing average out at 30 a year, it's got to be hundreds.
So moving on to my next question, what influenced you into getting into barbering? Did you fall into it? Was it a passion you've always had? Is it just destiny?
I really enjoyed the course at college when we did that as part of my level 2. I found shaving in particularly very therapeutic. I found it very relaxing, and I really enjoyed the difference that you could make to somebody, especially a man, because I think in general, out of the sort of, I don't mean beauty therapy, but you know, in the care and facial care and that kind of thing for men, it's just almost non-existent. And it certainly was then when I did that. And I found for a guy to be able to come in and have a nice, you know, face massage and the shave and feel great after, it made me feel really good, because I felt, you know, they're really left out in that whole pampering stakes. And then yeah, like I say, I winged it into a management job, which I clearly had no idea of what I was doing. Realised that I probably should leave before I got the sack. And there was a job at a barber's that was 10 minutes walk from my house, so I went for that. And it was great. I loved it. Loved the atmosphere, loved the people, and it was great learning the new skills. And they were really hard on the quality of work that you turned out. So I had to work next to the salon owner for about a year, where he'd keep an eagle eye on what you were doing very quietly, and you'd get the death stare if you made a bit of a mistake.
Yeah, I think I've mastered that stare now.
Yes.
I think you have as well, probably. Wow.
Yeah, it's good.
So, what sort of environment were you working in this shop? Was it quite a big shop? Was there a lot of staff working, or was it quite a small shop?
Oh yeah, it was absolutely heaving. When I started, there were on a Saturday we had 8 stylists, 8 barbers, and we worked from sort of about 8 till 3:30, and it was jammed, people queuing out the door. And there was usually between 5 and 6 of us working full time, sort of rotated round throughout the week. So it was a very, very busy shop. So you really were thrown in, sort of sink or swim. I can still remember my first haircut there, and I was absolutely terrified.
Oh, I can imagine. So, did you know, obviously working in that type of environment, did you feel comfortable at first?
I will say there I did, because we had, it was a real family atmosphere. Everybody that works there has worked there forever. You know, there's still the same, 2 of the members of staff have been there for over 30 years. So everybody's worked there. The shop's been there for 65 years. So it's a very well established shop. And there I didn't have any problems. I mean, occasionally as a young girl you'd get the odd inappropriate comment from the clients, which I learned very quickly to fend off or jokingly deal with, banter, you know, as a comeback. Bit of banter. And I think some of the older guys initially would be a little bit wary of a young girl. So there's many times I was asked if I knew what I was doing, which I used to find a little bit upsetting, but I often used to say, well, I'll tell you what, get in my chair and we'll find out, shall we? And then they'd be okay. But there's been a couple of places I've worked where it's not been so friendly. Yeah, so I'm obviously don't want to name names, but yeah, there's been a couple of places there.
You just reference them as an unknown.
Yes. Yeah, so there's been a couple of places that I've worked where it's been, I'd say,
Bit clicky?
not particularly. Yes, very clicky. I think possibly from the
Not
point of
very
view
welcoming.
of, yeah, well, initially quite welcoming, but then I felt as the time went on that that was a little bit of a fake welcome. You know, you just kind of had to be nice because the boss was there, sort of thing. And then I think after that, it became quite apparent that everybody was incredibly money hungry in that salon. And so it was all about just churning people out, get them out, get them out. And if you were busier and getting more bookings, then they would be very catty in the staff room when there weren't clients there and stuff. And yeah, it was a very unpleasant place to work. So I didn't stay very long.
Well, I can imagine. But I think we've all been there, haven't we? I've been in a similar situation where I've worked in quite a big unisex salon, and I've seen the same sort of things. Situations occur.
Yeah, it's so sad.
Your friends one day, and then you're not speaking the next day. Again, but a barbershop's a very family-oriented environment, and if you've got
Yeah.
mixes of people there, and then you've got your sort of solid foundation, you know, people who've been there for years who don't really get involved in anything, but let everything sort of manifest in the salon, and that's just the wrong way about it. And this is why a lot of these places now are closed, you know. And you've got people who've got everybody's got their own salon now. That's the key to running your own business, is open your own place. You know, a couple of staff, a couple of apprentices,
Absolutely.
and it's job done now. You don't need 20, 30 staff anymore. It's just
No.
a headache.
I think you can bring on. It becomes less of a friendly family. I mean, I always say to my students that I think when you go into a barber's, and I like to run my classes like this, is that it should feel like you've gone to see your mates and you're getting a haircut as part of that. That's how it should be to me. You should be able to pop in just to say hi and have a cup of tea, not just to have a haircut. That, to me, that's how it should be. It's almost like the pub without the beer, but you get a haircut instead. And when it isn't like that, and it becomes really commercial and it's all about the sell and the products and who's got the most money and the most awards or something like that, you lose what you started with. And that's where I think that can sometimes, not in all cases, but sometimes be incredibly sad to see that, you know, it just goes to being about money, people through the door.
You got to hold the line of decency, haven't you, with staff and people around you and customers, and keep a rapport.
Yeah. I mean, I was really lucky when I was up at Hobbs in Camden, because even though it is a huge, and it is a huge company, I was at their academy, and even so, it is still, you still have that real family, everybody's best mates. It's I've never worked anywhere like that sort of beforehand. So that was a real eye-opener to see somewhere that big that still had that little friendly salon environment. That was really nice.
Brilliant. Well, that's it. You know, it's like it's having that mentality of you welcome and you can progress, and you know, you're not going to be fathomed by the barber next to you. And I think all of us should have that mentality, and I think we'd all do.
Absolutely.
Really. Definitely, Donna, definitely.
Yeah.
So moving on to our next question. Obviously, how long have you actually been in the industry for now altogether? You didn't say. Okay, we'll leave that. We'll move on, right?
I'm going to say over 25 years. I'm going to say over 25 years.
So, listen. Same as me. We're both in the same boat. Okay. So trends and styles. We've seen the trends. We've seen the styles. You know, we've seen the crazy out there haircuts. They're coming back. You've got hair portraits in now. You've got crazy color going in. You've got all sorts of stuff. Let's see what you feel about everything going on. We'll start back in the day, the old school trends. What you used to think of them, you know, especially like the old teddy boy haircuts and flat tops and so on.
Well, so when I was at Leeds, where I first started as a barber, I my colleague there, Julie, she is super good at a flat top, and she taught me to flat top there, and I'm forever in her debt for having shown me how to do it. And she's still fantastic at it now. She still works every day. I like a flat top if it's well maintained. I find it hard work with a client that doesn't maintain it. And in that case, I tend to try and talk them out of it, if I'm honest. But yeah, back in the day, blimey, yeah, it was my very first haircut. There was an old guy that came in and asked for a down to the wood army haircut. I had no idea what he was talking about. Chamfered in the neck, and I was thinking, what are you saying? I don't know what you're saying. And I looked at my boss, and he just went, just cut it off. And I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I think what would I say? I think my least favourite haircut was probably the step. When that was huge, I disliked that with a passion. With the, you know, the parents who would bring their tiny little kid in with really fine baby hair and want a perfectly lined out step. It was my least favourite haircut. And I'd say probably still to this day, my favourite haircut is either a proper Mohican, or a really decent mullet. I love a mullet.
Yeah, mullets are coming back big time now, I've noticed.
Yes,
and,
I'm so pleased. I love them.
you know, like,
and getting some colour in as well. I love getting some colour in.
Definitely. Like with the trends currently at the moment, you've got a lot of hair designs, got a lot of patterns. What are your feelings on them?
Yeah. It's like anything really. I think it's like any style or trend. You've either got the hair for it or you don't. It's either going to look great or it's going to look shocking. And I mean, I think I love some of the looks at the minute where you've got a really like heavy on top fade and then just the little flicks in. I like that because it's very understated, but it still takes skill, even though it looks so small and simple. I have absolute respect for people who can do the amazing like portraits and stuff. I mean, that is just something else, and that's not something I'm fabulous at by a country mile.
Do you think there's room for that coming into college?
I mean, from my point of view, the students are wary of it. They're frightened to try it. It's hard to teach in college because you can't teach it on a block, and then for them to be able to learn it properly, it has to be on a client's, it has to be on a person, and that's where your lack of clients for them to practice on and then be assessed on, that's where that becomes an issue. So I tend to avoid that unit, and it would be something I'd probably look at more as a workshop as opposed to a unit that they were going to be assessed on.
Yeah, definitely, because we've got a few people in the UK who do them.
Yeah.
You know, I think eventually as barbering advances in college, and you know, we all work together and get the college up to where it needs to be, get the industry up to where it needs to be, get it regulated, and there's definitely room for it. I think at the moment.
Oh, definitely.
I think it's been neglected at the moment because, like you said, people are scared of it. It's new. It's difficult. A lot of the people who do it, they don't want to give their too much information away because, you know, it's an acquired skill. But eventually,
absolutely, and it takes practice and practice.
The more people who do it, you know, the more it'll start to come in. So going on to colour. So there's lots of colours coming out now. Obviously, education-wise, do you deal with colouring?
At level 2, we teach basic colouring as part of barbering. It's part of it's one of the units that's the compulsory, and they enjoy it. They don't use it as much as they could, I think, but I think that's just an experience thing. It comes. We have a unit called Create an Image, and I push that quite heavily. and throughout that I get them to then use their colouring skills to create that image, and make it, you know, so that they're showing all of their skill, not just their cutting skill. That's something I'm quite passionate about, that if you can do it and you enjoy it, then you should show it.
Brilliant. Well, you know, definitely your enthusiasm towards your students is great. I love your energy, Donna. It's great to see. I've known you now for what, 2-3 years now, and you know, I've seen you progressing, coming up through the industry as well. You know, we've got big things happening over the next couple of years, which is going to be great. But we're going to be quiet about that at the moment. So going into education tools, obviously, like say for instance, you know, I was just a jack off the street, and I was, you know, young lad, and I come into your college and I say, right, what do I need to get? Let's have a little talk through the tools.
So all of my students, and most colleges run this way, that as they join they get a kit, and it's incredibly basic, but it gives you a starting point. And I always say to my students, the stuff you get in the kit is your basic kit. You can add to it, you can change stuff out of it. So they'll get, for instance, a relatively cheap pair of clippers, because they often go walkies, or they get dropped, or they're not used very often. They're not used as much as they could be. So, and also when you add all the cost of the kit together, if I was to put £100 pair of clippers in, a lot of the students wouldn't be able to afford it. So we go for a relatively cheap set of clippers, a decent set of scissors, and one thing I seem to find is that it's the combs. For me, I'm a real big stickler for the correct combs, and their instant thing is to grab the biggest comb they can find, and then try and do sectioning with it and cutting with it, and they're trying to cut with a blending in a clipper comb, and it's you know, I'm sort of like, no. So yeah, I'm a big one for combs when and sectioning clips for when we initially start for longer hair, but after a little while they're not allowed to use the sectioning clips because they need to be able to control the hair when it's shorter without.
Brilliant. Yeah, well, you know, like combs are very important, clippers are very important, scissors are very important, and you know, they're giving us more tools now as well. You know, the Arsenal's getting bigger with the foilers. I've got the FY. You know, the steamer's been around for a while, but I'll just introduce that. Do you do training in obviously we can't at the moment with coronavirus, but would you do massaging and steamers with your level 3?
Yeah. For the level 3, it's not part of their assessment that they have to use the steamer, but they have a steamer and they're shown how to use it, to make sure that should they go and work in a barbering salon that has one, they know what they're doing. I love a steamer. I find shaving with a steamer, although it makes you incredibly hot, is you get such a nice result, and especially on a client with sensitive skin, because it keeps it so moisturized and warm. It makes a real difference for the client, I think, and then for you when you're learning, because you don't end up with that drying out foam and that horrible feeling when your lather's too dry.
Well, again, little plug there for the Shade Doctor. His products are top class.
Yes,
you don't get that problem.
Fantastic.
With the Shade Doctor products, so excellent shading products there. So yeah, brilliant. Moving on now. So obviously, like I said, I met you at the shows. I've seen you British Master Barbers, Salon International, Barbers. Yep. I've seen you at Pro Live. I've seen you at a few places, haven't I?
Yeah, Salon International and stuff.
Yeah. So what do you think about the shows? Obviously, previously the ones you've been to, and you know, like why did you go to the shows, for instance?
So I like the shows. I found a few of them the last few years are just becoming, from my personal opinion, is that they're becoming a little bit market stally. Some of them, stall after stall after stall of cheap stuff, which is great for the students because they can come on student day at Salon International and they can go home with a load of goodies and they feel they've had a great time. But as an industry professional, like, you know, you guys as well, to see stuff that you know, if you're paying £1 for it, there's a good chance it's not going to last. And it's the same stall after stall. I find that is a little bit, I'm going to use the word tacky, when you've got people there that have been in the industry forever, at the top of their game, next to a stand that's selling, I don't know, scissors for £5 sort of thing. I think it's a shame. I think there's a certain place for that, and I personally, I don't feel at the shows that's the place for it. I think this is where the top of our game people should be, showing the new guys where you could be in 10 years, not selling.
That's brilliant
stuff.
advice. Well,
But
you know, she's not having a go at anybody who puts these events on. We want to thank you guys for putting these events on. I mean, sincerely, with our hearts, because this is great for our industry. So keep doing it. If you are one of these people who do it, I know, you know, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I just want to just say my little input is Donna's totally right. It's being fragmented with too many stores. There's not enough educators doing education. There's not enough people interacting. It's turning into a bit of a free-for-all. There's no direction. I was on the Welsh stage having my haircut. I was on the British Master Barber stage having my haircut. And there needs to be a little bit more direction and a little bit more planning put in. I was the...
yeah, absolutely. I think that the... Sorry, go on, Sean.
I just want to finish that. I was me and Rob were running the members room. I had taken 3 weeks to plan that out, and we nailed it to a T. Everybody had their jobs, their times to do. Everything ran perfectly and smoothly. I was very, very happy with the day. Everybody who came to the event was very happy you were there. And you know, that room was absolutely popping. And you know, I just want to say thank you for everybody who was there. And again, sorry, I'll let you jump back in now, Don, because you know what I'm like, I do yabbering.
No, it's fine. I was just literally going to say the same as you. I think there's so many people in our industry that are fantastic at what they do, and fantastic educators with passion, you know, coming out of every pore. And I think that at somewhere like Salon International or Pro Hair, that's where they should be. There should be so much room for these guys that are passionate and fantastic, and especially the young blood that are coming up, they've got so much passion to start, to be up there on the stage with the big boys, as it were. It would be so much better than, it almost needs to be two different things, in my opinion. You know, there should be a part where you can go and buy all your bits and bobs and your new equipment and so on and so forth, and then there should be so much more room, I feel, for the education, because that's what it's all about, is learning and getting better. I mean, it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, you can always learn something new.
I'm still learning now. I'm learning the crazy colours with Osmo at the moment. So you know, I've done colouring for years. You know, I was a former hairdresser back in the day, and like using these new colours now, and you know, watching people like Baxter mixing up these mad solutions with the bleach, which new technology, great again. Thank you, Osmo, as well.
Yeah.
You know, leveling up, and this is what it's all about. It's all about leveling up. It's all about you know, taking barbering to the next level. Do you know what I mean? And
absolutely.
And this is why the ministries come in. You know, the Ministry of Barbers come in. It's a collective group of like-minded barbers who are gonna like actually not talk and actually do.
Yes.
Brilliant. So we're just going to talk about the coronavirus and the lockdown and how it's affected you. So this is the bad section now, guys, so get the tissues. I've got mine ready.
Whoa, where'd you start? I mean, I've got to say, for me, I wasn't too bad personally. I was incredibly lucky to be at the college and not in a barbering salon. You know, I felt incredibly for people that were in salons. And you know, just the fact that you're so used to being with clients all day, on your feet, and the atmosphere, and then to suddenly not be able to do what it is you do every single day behind the chair is crippling for a lot of people. And I know a lot of people suffered really intense mental health issues, you know, because of that isolation. I was pretty lucky. I worked all the way through, and I was very lucky that we weren't furloughed. You know, so we worked online. Our lessons went online from home, which had its ups and downs, as you can imagine. As you know, Sean, and have seen several times, I have 2 small children. So teaching a lesson with small children fighting behind me has been quite a regular thing. It's been fun. It's been eventful.
Jumping all over you, constantly
yeah, screaming about cokes and sweets. Yeah, it's been eventful. Thankfully, my students are often in the same position, so it's fine. But yeah, we were really lucky.
So returning, what was it like returning?
I'm not going to lie, I was incredibly glad to be back at work. I don't work particularly well at home. I find it quite boring. I like, you know, I like all of us, I think we're so used to being around people. It was horrible just sitting there day after day. And a lot of the students were incredibly relieved to get back to college. I know some of them have got pretty challenging home lives, and so to not have that escape of college has been hard on some of them quite a lot. So they were quite glad to come back, even if it was to me moaning about where their assignment was. But the restrictions in class now are you know, because of COVID are hard going, but they're no different than the restrictions in industry, where you're, you know, masks and visors all day, wear the same in the salon at college. So it can be difficult to give a lesson and talk for that whole time, but it's still not the same as standing up on my feet 8 hours a day with clients. I'm very well aware of that.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you know, we're all in the same boat. We've all got to do it, haven't we, to get through this virus. Do you think we're going to be UK lockdown?
So my prediction is I think we're going to get a 2-week one over October half term. Just because that's the rumblings I've heard from sort of other people, and it would make the most sense because they don't want to lock down the schools particularly. I find it odd that they want to lock down, you know, people at home, but it's okay to go to the pub with a bunch of strangers. I find that quite confusing myself. I don't get that, but it is what it is. I'm sure they've got their reasons, whatever they may be.
Well, obviously this is SweeneyTV, and we don't get into that type of malarkey on here. But
no, that's it.
People, I'm very open about how I feel about all of this. So, but we're going to move on. So, what do you think's next for our industry? What do you think's coming up? You know.
Well, I'm going to say I hope it's a return of some longer haircuts for me, because I love a longer haircut. I'm loving the beards at the minute. Yes, I'm liking your hair a little bit longer.
Yes, lovely in there. I think I'm a bit too old for the skin thing now. I'm nearly 40. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. See, I think I like a skin fade. I love the skill that goes into a well done skin fade. But I think the fact that that's the first thing my students say to me when they come through the door is, "Miss, are we going to learn to fade?" And I'm like, well, when you can hold a pair of scissors, then we'll talk about it. But yeah, I think it's just, I think there's going to be a lot of people coming into the industry because of lockdown and having lost their jobs. I think there's going to be quite an influx of people coming into industry that are older. So it's not going to just be kids. I think sort of this time next year, we'll get an influx of people coming into industry that are older but are at almost apprentice level. I think that could throw people a little bit money-wise.
What will you do if they close the college down?
We'll just go back online like we did before. So in preparation for something like that happening, we've already put people in. We've already put them all onto Microsoft Teams and shown them how to work remotely should they have to. That was literally the first lesson that we did to make sure that, you know, if it happens tomorrow, they know what they're doing. And then we just deliver remotely from there. So there'll be many a demonstration from my kitchen.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. So, will you say for instance, you know, the barbershop you used to work in there on and off. If that is open, will you go and cut hair there just to keep your hand in it, or is there something you're not interested in?
I do go there very occasionally now, and it is quite rare. And excuse me 1 second, Jess, that's enough. Welcome to my children. But I've got quite a lot of private clients. Can you hear the arguing?
No.
Welcome to home.
It's a family fun show. We love the energy. But go on.
Yeah, so I think I've got quite a lot of private clients, so I still work around, you know, around the college hours. And I suppose because I'm still demonstrating every day at college, it does keep your hand in. I like being in the salon because I think it stops me getting complacent. You can get complacent with your own skill when you work on your own, I find. So I enjoy being in the salon. Keeps my skills going.
Brilliant. Good. So finally now, the last question. How do you relax? I know you drive a motorbike and I do
ride a motorbike.
A lady of many talents. How do you relax on your day off? I know you got the kids obviously as well, but when you got
they're super relaxing, as you can hear.
Of course.
Generally it's on the bike. That's my way of relaxing. I've got a Triumph Speed Triple, which I absolutely adore. So yeah, if I'm feeling a bit stressed or anything like that, I'm out on the bike once the kids have gone to bed. So yeah, it's good. Other than that, I think it's probably watching horror films and things like that.
Okay. Wow. Well, it's been a great interview, Donna. Thank you very much for coming
on. Even with
on.
my children.
Been a great friend to me over the years. Love talking to you.
Yeah, you too, mate.
Brilliant interview. I'm glad to be back. I'm hoping that you know, everybody who watches this later on will be following the channels, Sweeney's Barbershop. And if Donna chucks this on there, give it a like and a comment and share it if you can. And sort of thank you very much. So Donna, we are out. I'm just gonna bye. I'm just gonna wrap it up now with my last bit. So just drop Donna out now here. So Sean Swiss Sweeney, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We're on the Zoom, and I just want to say that we've got Paul Devlin on from Davros Barbers next week, 6 o'clock. Tune in. Sean Swiss Sweeney, SweeneyTV, Sweeney's Barbershop. We are out.